And you did one at LA, didn't you? At the LABS convention. So obviously, I think most of us have met Ken being around. I want to thank you for coming over. And rather than take up any time talking about it, over to Ken.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thanks for inviting us to come here to England and do the presentation. I'm gonna tell a little bit about the Bouvet adventure. It was a really great trip in the end. Maybe I will share some information which we have not heard before, so let's just start. The expedition took place in January, February this year. We had a lot of discussions going on with authorities where to set up a camp. Obviously, all the previous expeditions, they had taken place from the western part of the island, where the weather station is located. However, that location is not accessible for amateur radio operators unless sometimes they go there and they need a doctor. So if you're a doctor, you could probably join them once in a while. But the only place to stay if you want to do an overnight stay on Bouvet is actually Cape Fia and the area to the south. That's for sure. They do have cruise ships passing by Bouvet, and they do day trips with the Zodiac into the beach for 30 minutes, and they go back. All the beaches are quite dangerous. There is risk for rockfall and ice falling down, so it's not recommended to stay for a long time. So Cape Fia is a nice place. It's quite safe and not much issues. We departed from Falkland Island. We had a lot of equipment. We sent a container from Oslo. Took 2 months down to Stanley in Falkland. How we set up the expedition was that we had divided all the equipment into different steps. We had step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1, we had 1 generator, antennas, and so on. Step 2, we had another generator. Step 3, we had a third generator. So we just planned for expanding the camp. And we had tagged all the equipment with a number. So we knew exactly what sequence the equipment was going onshore Bouvet, because we wanted to set up the camp in a way that we only needed a small part of the equipment to go on the air. So when we did the loading, we had, you can see on the quay, on the dock, you can see that the equipment is lined up according to how they were going to be stored inside the vessel. So for step 1, the first equipment going onshore was loaded in front of the sailboat, and then as step 2 was in the middle, and so on. So when we came to Bouvet, we knew exactly where each item was located in the vessel, and that was also be easier for us to pull out the equipment. The loading took a lot of time, but it was done in a good manner by the captain and crew. And we had some issues with the missing equipment coming from Bryce Norton. Unfortunately, a few amplifiers were left behind. Some climbing safety equipment was left behind, and we couldn't leave without that equipment. So we were delayed by 2-3 days. But in the end, we got all the equipment. The sailing to Bouvet was, I would say, was an easy sailing in a way that, heard about Furious 40s and the Roaring 40s or Furious 50s, I don't know. It was, for us, it was not much wind. We had like 30 knots, 40 knots. But most days we could do sailing by motor. And we also had the opportunity to do the sailing ourselves. None of the team members had any experience with sailing such a vessel, and it was a great experience behind the wheel, steering the boat. So yeah, a couple of times a wave would just come over the boat and you were just soaking wet. That was the fun part. We also had to do the sailing during the night. That was when we approached South Georgia. That was a little bit more dangerous because there was icebergs coming. We had a radar, so we could see the icebergs on the radar. However, a lot of the team members were not comfortable sailing during the night. We had one behind the wheel, at the aft of the sailboat, and we had one in the front trying to watch for icebergs. But you could see the big iceberg, but you could not see the small one. So we just told the captain that we were not comfortable sailing the sailboat, so they had to take over. So, but in a way, it was a great experience for all of us. So, of course, the big thing after 3 years of planning, arriving at Bouvet, that was really a big moment for all of us. We arrived in the evening, Monday, 30 of January, or was it the 31st maybe? It was cloudy when we arrived, so it would have been difficult to go onshore with a helicopter that day. But most of the island was covered by cloud. I mean, the peak Olavtoppen was covered by cloud most of the time. Only the last day it was really clear sky. So, but Cape Verde, where we were located, you can see it in the left corner there, was didn't have any clouds throughout the stay. So Cape Verde is a very suitable place for if you want to go with helicopter. Of course, arriving in the evening, it was a little bit dark, but all team members were really excited. I could definitely not go to sleep. I had to watch. It was like 10, 11 in the evening, and then later on I just went to bed, but you know, it was impossible to sleep. Just thinking about the next day. We had planned to stay, wake up at sunrise. So, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, all the team members were ready to go onshore. The only person who was not ready was the captain. He was sleeping. So that was, in a way, I had to wake him up and tell him, okay, we need to go. There was a forecast for maybe 30, 40 hours of reasonable good weather, so it was planned that we could make an attempt to go onshore. But we really needed to push on to prepare everything. Everything was strapped. All the equipment on deck was strapped. Inside the cabin was strapped, and we needed to, you know, get equipment out of the cabins, out of the storage place, so we could go onshore. We started putting taking down the antennas. We started preparing a fuel for the diesel generator and so on. And all this took a lot of time, the preparation. But by 12 o'clock, we had lunch, and then after lunch, we were in a way ready to continue the process of going onshore. So the first thing is that we had positioned the sailing boat a little bit off Cape Verde, but we needed to find a good position for the vessel, also considering that if they lost the anchor, it had to be safe for the vessel to stay there. So there was a lot of safety discussions with the captain where he wanted to position the vessel. So what we did was that we had a scouting mission. We went out in the Zodiac, or the dinghy, and we one of the goals was to measure the depth of the water, so we could decide exactly where to position the vessel. At that scouting mission, then we also went to Cape Verde with the dinghy, and everything looked really, really good. Unfortunately, due to global warming, the glacier has receded, so it has decreased in size. And we saw that the seals actually has now access to the glacier. So the glacier was packed with seals, and very an uncommon situation. But that's the drawback with the global warming, is that these, you know, suddenly there's a lot of seals on the glacier. Also, the penguins access the glacier. So that's definitely sad to see. So we had a scouting missions, and then we started to go onshore. We had, for the first day, the plan was to install a climbing route. We had planned for setting up a climbing route to access the camp. We also had two ways of going onshore. One was going with the Zodiac directly onto the beach, and then drop off the people and equipment and just go back with the Zodiac. We could only do that if the waves was small. The other way of going onshore was by setting up a Bouvet system, roughly 100 meter out from the shore. From that buoy, there would be going a rope onto the shore. We would have bolted bolts in the rocks onshore. So the rope would go through a ring connected to the bolt, so it would go through the two rings and back to the buoy system. So by pulling this rope, you could actually pull equipment or persons into the beach. So this was the system designed, and we had tested it up front in Norway. And this system was mainly planned to being used for if there was a highway. We went first. Zodiac or dinghy was myself and Peter, the expeditioner. We had hired a professional expeditioner who is trained to assist expeditions in these kind of waters. A job for us. So the task was for me and him to set up the climbing route. So we went onshore. You know, going onshore Bouvet is quite an amazing experience. And the Zodiac driver Charles was really professional, really good Zodiac driver. So going onshore, you have to watch the waves, you have to count the waves, you have to study the waves. So we spent like 10 minutes just watching, studying the waves, how the sequence of the waves were before we went in to the beach. First he rushed the dinghy, then he slowed down to just prepare for the landing. And it was just like he told me, you know, when I say jump, you just jump. So that's what I did. We were like 5 meters from the beach. I just jumped into the water. I had a life jacket. Of course, my feet was knocked down over the water, so I fell into the water. So my life jacket just inflated. So I was literally swimming the last few meters into the beach. But it was very emotional going onshore. It was great. We managed to get in. The photo to the left is from the first landing. So then the two of us was on the beach. Then later on, Dave, Whiskey Delta 5, Charlie Oscar Victor is also on this photo. He came, as well as Mike, the doctor, Alpha Bravo 5, Echo Bravo. So the four of us pretty well managed to go onto the beach. But the difficult thing when beaching a dinghy is that because the beach is very steep, so it means that when the dinghy is coming into the beach, is that you have to watch for the waves. These waves sometimes were like 2-3 meters tall, and when you had jumped out of the Zodiac, you needed to pull the Zodiac up the beach, and that's really a tough job because the dinghy is heavy, and when the next wave is coming, it will fill the dinghy with water. So suddenly you have a 500-600 kilo dinghy, and it's impossible to move. Of course, then there is a high risk of damaging the dinghy. So what they instructed us to do was we had to tilt the dinghy in vertical position to empty all the water out of the dinghy. And while you do this, there is more waves coming. The waves don't stop; they just come on. So this is a very difficult task for people who is not trained to do it. I told him on the beach, Peter, that wow, this is really difficult, Peter. Then he told me, Ken, it was your idea to come here. So he was right. And he told me that you probably chose one of the most difficult places on earth to go onshore with a dinghy. And he said that to do this, you really need to be sort of Navy SEALs, soldiers who are trained to do this. And obviously he looked at us and well, I agree with him. We were not trained for this, and you know, we really didn't know how to do it. But after a while, we in a way managed to do it. The first day, as I said, setting up the route. Unfortunately, there was issues with the vessel. We had our own Zodiac. We had purchased, was stored in the lazaret on the aft of the vessel, in a compartment, which was very exposed to the waves. And getting this Zodiac out of the lazaret was very difficult because the waves were coming was hitting the rear of the sailboat. So this delayed everything. It took time for them to get the dinghy out of the lazaret, and we needed to assemble the Zodiac. So all this took a long time. So late afternoon, they had managed to get it out, but they needed to inflate the Zodiac as well. But later on, the captain came to the beach while we were on the beach waiting for them for supplies, and the waves were increasing, and he just gave us this sign. He just aborted the landing, and that was due to safety reasons. He didn't want to go onshore with the Zodiac. He didn't want to do direct beaching. This was a difficult situation for us because we needed more supplies. We had a dry bag with some warm clothes. We also had some food. But unfortunately, this was not planned. It was not expected either. But literally, that decision left us stranded on the beach. So I recall that situation very well, and later on we tried to get more supplies onto the island. Late evening at sunset, we realized that the last attempt he did was like, sorry guys, it's not possible to get any more items, supplies onto the island. So I remember we just were looking at each other, the four guys, and okay, what to do? Well, let's go to the camp. We didn't have much supplies, but there was a ravine which could provide shelter for us. And that night was really cold. We just got down in the ravine, and we found a place to sleep. It was cold, so it wasn't possible to really sleep. We were sleeping close together to each other. I had one man in front of me and one on the back, warming up. So you slept for an hour, and then you woke up. You had to go for a walk, and we kept on this like all night. So we were literally sleeping under open sky. Next day was still difficult conditions. Waves were still high. We planned to expand this rope system. So that was the plan, to install the system so we could get supplies onto the island. We got some supplies, but we also had a rope thrown into the beach. The Zodiac driver Charles again did a fantastic job. He was really exposed in that situation to the waters and the waves, but he managed to throw in a rope in the end. He tried several times, but you know, throwing a rope isn't easy when there is a lot of waves. You have to stand up in the Zodiac, you have to hold the rope and you have to throw it. A really difficult situation. He did that a couple of times. He had to go out because the waves were coming from behind. So he was really exposed. And they also had this automatic launcher. They could pull the trigger and throw the line onshore. So they decided to go back to the vessel and get that. Of course, this didn't work. We were seeing them pulling the trigger several times, but it was. You can imagine standing on a beach and your only hope is this automatic system works, and then it fails twice. It was quite depressing. So in the end, he managed to throw a rope manually onto the beach. You have to get going and pull that rope up from the water, and that's a very dangerous situation because the waves are coming. You have to go down to the water and pull it up. Then you have to go back. So this wasn't a comfortable situation at all. But we managed to get the rope in. So in the end, we also managed to install the rope system. And later on, we also managed to get a Zodiac connected, hooked onto this rope, and we could pull the Zodiac into the beach. We got the Zodiac into the beach. Of course, everything inside the Zodiac was strapped really good, so it was impossible for us to get everything out of the Zodiac. We got the anchors, beach anchors, out of the Zodiac. Unfortunately, the waves were just coming like 3 meters waves, just pushed the Zodiac onto the anchor, and it ruptured the Zodiac. So it was punctured and damaged. So we had to repair the Zodiac. This was a kind of dangerous situation on the beach, because you're standing there, the waves are coming 3 meters, and if you're on the wrong side of the Zodiac, you can break your leg easily. So when the waves were coming, I just had to jump into the Zodiac, and the Zodiac would push us like 50 meters up on the beach. Again, the captain decided he wouldn't do any more beach landings whatsoever at all. He would not go onto the beach because it was not safe to do it. So I don't blame him. It was probably a good decision by him. So for the rest of the trip, he would only do beaching directly if there was an emergency. Otherwise, we would have to do with the rope system. It was also like, there was the upcoming storm coming, and that was predicted to be like 60 knots, maybe 30 meters per second. And that was, predicted to be coming in the next 4 or 5 days. We were stuck on an island. We tried to prepare for the loading more gear. There was a lot of missing opportunities. We saw that, especially during sunrise, the beach was really calm. It was possible to do beach landings, but the captain, he wasn't prepared for these landings. He was away from the beach. He was not at the beach, but we had a very good view. We could see everything. So we saw these missing opportunities. Time after time, there was a missing opportunities. We could have done several beach landings, but it wasn't doable because he was not there. In the end, day 4, that was 2 days before the storm was coming, we just requested evacuation because we saw this didn't work at all. There was bad communication between us on the island and the vessel. Communication didn't work at all. We sent messages which was not executed from the vessel. So what we had thought is that we need to go back to the vessel and reset everything. We had been studying the beach, the water, for a long time, so we knew how the conditions was. So we were pulled out one by one because it was in a way an emergency. Charles, the Zodiac driver, would go into the beach and pull out each operator. So we learned quite a few lessons the first 4 days. Is that the beach is really exposed to the elements, to the water, to the wind. It's definitely very short and unpredictable weather windows. You don't know the duration of the weather window. If we knew we had 10 hours, we could plan for that, but the 10 hours could easily be 2, 3, 4 hours. So when you do decisions, you have to think that you don't know the duration of the weather windows. It can change very quickly. As I said, a lot of missing opportunities, so it meant that we had to be ready when Bouvet would allow us to go onshore. When the conditions was good, we had to be ready. That was one lesson learned. Also, of course, was very physical demanding being there on the beach when you're dragging equipment like I carried 40, 50 kilos on this volcano beach. It's wet. Every time you set your foot in the sand, you go down by 5-10 centimeters. It's very exhausting to carry all the equipment like 150 meters. So definitely we needed to be at least 6 people to do the landings. We were not trained for this. And we needed to be Navy SEALs operators. Looking at myself, I'm not in that category at all. So to succeed, we needed to scale back the operation. We needed to minimize the amount of equipment going onshore. That's the video on the next one, Chris, I guess, yeah. This is just a few photos. You can see the upper left, you can see part of the rope system. And on the bottom left is we used drums to transport electronics onshore. They are waterproof and really good. So I think I'll just switch to the video. So now we're gonna just show a video which is a little bit about the conditions here. You will see how we went onshore. We went onshore with survival suits and climbing harness, and we hooked ourselves onto the rope. Seeing these conditions is not kind of you want to do the beach landing. I think this video is like 2 minutes, so you can just watch it. This is how they pull equipment from the Bouvet into onshore. Yeah, not of the difficult part of the items are the beach. Now all the hard work starts. Good about these guys. See the water jerrycans. See the multi-fuel. Ask questions in the middle. We need to get a microphone over here.
I was just asking if you were doing this because your inflatable was damaged and you couldn't use it anymore.
No, at that day the beach was good, so we could have done a regular beach landing. However, it was important for us to set up the rope loop system to prove for ourselves that we could get resupplies. That day we could have done a direct beach landing, but we decided that to do it the opposite way, and also because it was considered it wouldn't take much more time than doing a regular beach landing. So we went back to the vessel, and we gathered all together. We gathered all together, and decision has been to do a minimalistic approach. It meant to remove all the equipment that was not needed. We didn't need any luxury at all, like chairs, tables. So yeah, we removed everything which we really didn't need. And it was in a way inspired by the Norwegians who went there in 1976. They sit on the beach with a small dipole and no chair at all. So this was perfectly doable. Yeah, we decided to prove the concept exactly for the reason that we wanted to make sure that we could get more supplies because the storm was coming up. So we needed to be, know that we could get resupplies. It was anticipated to take the same time as the direct beaching. We, however, we had a team meeting. I had a speech with the guys. I went through different things. The main part was risk perception, because everybody has different perception of risk going onshore. I talked to the guys that that they needed to be physically and mentally prepared for going onshore. I tried to explain how the situation had been for the four of us on the island. That if they had, they should really consider why they wanted to go onshore. What is their priority in life? This is just a hobby. It's not like you have to go onshore. So discussed the various risks, the various scenarios of going onshore, what could happen, and went through the risk. And it was, in a way, a good meeting. It was also clearly said that as soon as you're onshore Bouvet, that's the point of no return. They could not expect being pulled out. The Maramadi crew, there was no guarantee that they would be pulled out. So it was made clear to everyone that if they want to go onshore, they had to stay for the entire duration, if that was 5 days or 3 weeks. We had a good discussions amongst us, and in the end it was like 8 operators who wanted to go onshore, but 4 operators didn't want to go onshore. And this was not any problem at all. There is no wrong decision or a right decision. Everybody has their own individual perception of risk and what they want to do. So this was all well respected by the whole team. The 8 of us prepared to go onshore. We started then packing the equipment. We chose a couple of K3 radios. We planned to stack on top of a bucket upside down. We couldn't run an amplifier because the power consumption is quite large. We decided to go with a small Honda generator, gasoline. We planned 50 liter of gasoline. We planned to bring 60 meter of coax. We planned to have antenna separation, so we didn't need the filters. So we left out all the filters. And we had one tent and a little bit of paraffin for heating. We tested everything because we wanted to float the equipment onto the shore. We packed it and tested it at the vessel. We put all the fuel and everything down into the water to make sure it floated, and everything was floating. So it was in a way good. The next day on Sunday we started going onshore, and you saw the video there. We went in 2 teams of 4 operators. 4 operators, myself and 3 other guys went to the buoy. We hooked onto it and floated in as the video saw. Then, after we had to come into the beach, they continued getting equipment to the rope, and we pulled in the rope. Then the next team of people came. This is our home on Bouvet. This is in the camp. We set up a tent. That was another difficult thing, is to install a tent when it's like 20 meters per second. We had really trouble with that. Actually, part of the tent broke, so we had to temporarily fix it. But we managed to put it up. The tent was a Norwegian high-quality tent, by the way. It's proven for these kind of areas. It sustained 60 knots of wind without any problem at all. I never felt unsafe in this tent. It was a really good choice. When you put all this equipment and all 9 men into this tent, there is a lot of condensation. So it was was really wet. We split the tent in 2. Half of the tent we had our sleeping bags. The other half we had equipment, and we had the radios. So because of this, we had to dry all the clothes outside. We put the clothes on the rocks when it was not raining. It was quite windy, but it would take a few hours, and the clothes were dried. So it was quite primitive conditions. We didn't have any chair. We sat on the ground operating. But all this worked out quite well. Some of the days was quite nice, almost no wind, and a really beautiful blue sky. Other days we had snow and a lot of wind. And the line comfort. So we started operating, but we operated 2 hours shift, and it meant that it was a sequence, and then you operated like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours, 10 hours later, maybe. You had a lot of spare time, and we sat in a tent and we discussed all kind of topics. We also did some, in a way, sightseeing. We went for a walk, or went around the island, not around the island, but onto the glacier, and had a look at the wildlife, the penguins and the seals. But the day went on as this. You did operating for a few hours. It was not very comfortable. Some of the guys had trouble with this because you always have to change position. It was not easy, but it was doable. Some guys thought it was cold. Some of us didn't feel the cold that much. So in a way, it was different how we experienced this. Of course, going on this place like this is Mike. Bravo 5 Echo Bravo in the sleeping bag. A really good quality sleeping bag is needed because you need to get the sleep. To the right is the toilet. Had a really nice view. We could see the beach, the sea. It was cold, so you didn't spend much time on that toilet. Had Norwegian MRE food. This is kind of food we eat a lot in Norway when we go hiking in the mountains. It's just pour hot water into this bag. We have all different tastes, which I think that most team members enjoyed this meal. We had only 2 meals a day, and then we had some energy bars in addition. But we got into the routine, and we ate, and it was nice to get some food in the morning and some in the evening, 12 hours later. This is the antennas. We had a few spider poles, but we also have an aluminium vertical. We decided to install the verticals. However, it wasn't a lot of space. We only had 60 meters of coax. I mean, despite we planned this for 3 years, we only managed to bring 60 meters of coax. So we had to convert one of the vertical into inverted V because there were interference between the 15 and 17 meters. So we just took the 50-meter vertical and flipped it around, so we had an inverted V. Then suddenly there was no station interference. So in front is the 30-meter vertical, which had a really good performance in my opinion. The 50-meter inverted V in the background. We guide them. We had these nets. We filled the nets with rocks from Bouvet, and that kept all the antennas up. We choose to run on 15, 17, and 30 meter because those bands were predicted to give us the best condition during the course of the expeditions. Of course, we could have done 20 meter, but 20 meter wasn't that good band in the morning and through lunchtime. It would typically open up, early afternoon. So that's why we decided not to do 20 meter. We had a 20 meter dipole up, but we didn't use it that much. This is the check. It's just the 2 K3s stacked on top of a bucket, and the power supplies on each side. And this is how it all, didn't have any problems stacking the K3s on top of each other. There was no interference between the K3s. So really happy with the performance of the LF craft. The K3s, as many other expeditions has used this, is a really proven radio for sure. So we had run the expedition for about 1 week. And then when it comes to the decision point is that we started running out of fuel. We started running out of water. We started running out of food. We needed to get resupplies of this. And the scenario is also that there is another 60-knot storm predicted to hit the island a few days later. The captain, he recommends us to go back to the vessel. So the question is then, what shall we do? Would you manage to get more supplies onto the island? it's like when you start bringing equipment onto the beach, into the camp, you need to make sure that you get it all the way up, because you cannot leave any equipment on the beach. If there is a wave, we'll take that equipment and you know, you will lose equipment if you just put it on the beach. So planning the logistics is very difficult, but it's important that you plan it in such a way that you are 100% sure that you're able to get all equipment in camp, because this is also a nature reserve, and we put our pride into planning this in such a way that we was 100% sure that we would get all equipment up into the camp, but also getting all the equipment out of the camp. And that was the big discussions we had. If we bring in a diesel generator, are we able to get the diesel generator out of the island back to the vessel? There's a lot of discussions how to do this and so on. Some of us were confident that we could do it. We had a plan for how to bring the equipment in. We had a plan for the amount of equipment, bringing one diesel generator, bringing more antennas, and so on. There was also a risk that because of the bad weather that we could exceed the contracted dates, that because of the bad weather you have to stay through the storm, and you know, it could easily take 10, 14 days extra. So in a way that when you're on Bouvet, you want to, some of us, we wanted to get up to 40, 50,000 QSOs. That was the 385 X-ray, they did like 45,000. So in a way that was a target for us to get up to 45,000, and the only way to do it was to bring more equipment and fuel into the camp. But some operators were also concerned about actually managing to get all these supplies onto the island. There was also a concern that we would not be able to pull out of the island. And it was a concern for them that we had to stay longer, maybe exceeding 50, maybe getting up to 55 days away from family and job. So it was a very good meeting. We sat down in the tent and we discussed, open discussion. Everybody was invited to express their opinion. People, you know, very openly expressed and discussed, you know, what was their thoughts, and you know, wasn't any heated discussion at all. Also, the people on the vessel was invited to come up with their opinion. In the end, we had a sort of voting, in a way that people had to express their opinion clearly. Do you want to stay or do you want to go home? And in the end, it was like 6 of us. The half of the team wanted to continue, but the other part wanted to return back. And then I had to make a decision which I felt was best for the team, and that was to pack down and go home. I think that that was maybe not a decision I wanted to do for myself, or also the 5 other guys who wanted to stay. But I think that was the best team decision, to just terminate the trip. So that's what we did. It wasn't any, you know, big discussions after that. We just continued operating the rest of the evening. And then we started packing down the camp the day after. So this is the last day on Bouvet. I was also very pleased to see 2 operators who was in the vessel. They had opportunity to go onshore. I was quite happy to get those team members on the island. Extraction was actually done according to the plan. We started sunrise. It was nice conditions, really good conditions. We brought all the equipment back to the vessel in 6 hours. So it was perfectly done in that size. Run a little bit out of time, but I think looking at this trip, there is a few lessons learned which can be useful for future expeditions. As 3 Yankee Zero Zulu noticed, there is very short and unpredictable weather windows. You need to practice upfront on all aspects of a trip. If you want to do a dinghy landing, you need to practice dinghy landing. Otherwise, when you arrive, you will be, will realize how it is. So, and the team needs to be physically fit, and they need to be trained mentally as well. Survival and wilderness skill is important, so it's probably more important than
the radio operator skill. If you're a good CW or a sideband operator, it doesn't count really much on Bouvet. That's why I think a combined team of what I say Navy SEALs guys or women and radio operator is likely to have more success than a team of 12, 14 radio operators. And you need to plan for a long duration of the trip because you need to consider the weather windows. I think sailboat and Zodiac is feasible if you go lightweight. I think that the highest success rate is if you use the helicopter and you also have the capability of a Zodiac. But that's the question of cost. I have quite recently a few offers to go to these places, and the price without the helicopter is like 1 million euro. If you want to add a helicopter, then you're up to 1.5, 1.8 million euro. The question is who wants to sign a contract worth 1.5 million euro? Raise your hands. There's not many people who would like to do that. That's why for the future I'm a little bit concerned about activations of islands like Peter One Island, Bouvet. I think still a sailboat for Bouvet AI is the way it can be done, but in a lightweight setup. Just a few words about the statistics. We run roughly 18,600 QSO. Of course, we were not happy with that numbers. Yeah, there is some unfinished work, as one team member expressed it. Definitely for future the expeditions will have a great pile-up. No question about that. Of course, we worked a lot of Europeans and Asia. Was Japanese signals was really strong. Of course, the signals from England was also strong. You had a good good path to England. A lot of familiar calls here, and always I think it's always nice to work Europe. I like to work a lot of European stations. There's a different calls and that kind of things, and also of course very nice to work people that I have a relationship with, which I know the call sign of. I didn't work that many North Americans, of course. I tried to do it, but the propagation wasn't that good. We also had a budget of roughly $715,000 US. But what I learned is that there is a willingness in the community to sponsor this kind of expeditions. We had no problem at all fundraising. We actually received so much donations while we were on Bouvet that we in the end decided to refund $50,000 to the DX community. We decided to refund the largest club and organizations. So we donated 40,000 back to Northern California DX Foundations. They gave us $100,000 and they got 40,000 in refund or payback. And we also donated 10% to the other clubs. And this was done because it was more simple for us to give the money back away or back to fewer clubs. This is the sponsors. I would like to thank all the sponsors, especially Chiltern DX Club, which supported us. So that's why I have maybe Chris, you can come onto the stage. It's a present from us. It's a small Bouvet rock. It's slightly larger than the one which is on the raffle, but thank you. So thank you very much. Just one final thing. For those of you who managed to get through the GQRM, and not work the pirate. But if you manage to get in the log, I have a QSL card for you. So I'm a little bit unfamiliar with all the calls, but as we approach the tea break, if you're in the log, you can come to me, and I have a QSL card for you.
Now, thank you, thank you for doing that. Thanks, Ken. This is now a CDXC asset. On the balance sheet, yeah, I don't know how we value it. Questions for Ken? Yep. I can't believe there's not a question. No one's going to say, why didn't you work me, or something.
Yeah, will there be ever a return, the expedition there at all? For us who are getting on a little bit, we probably won't be able to work much longer.
I think there will be, I'm not sure if I will go back, but for sure there will be future expeditions to Bouvet. There has been a discussion in the Norwegian government to change the rules to be allowed to go onshore Bouvet. That has been on the agenda for many years. It might be that the rules will be similar as Peter 1. It means that you need to have a lot more paperwork doing so. If that happens, I don't know, but for sure there will be future trips, at least with the dinghy. I don't know if it's, going with helicopter is might be too expensive.
I guess the other question I had, I mean, neglecting for a moment 1.5 million euros to raise for a helicopter. What percentage of days do you think you could land a helicopter from a boat?
I think while we were there, if you want to go to Capia, you could have done that. I don't know. There is a limit on these helicopters. I've heard 20 meters per second. I'm not into that, but if maybe you could land on Capia 50-60% of the days. You could not go on top of the Ula Peak because that was in the fog. But Capia should be doable with a helicopter a lot of the days, definitely.
So it's a question of fundraising.
Yeah, it's a question of...
And all the other things about fitness. Even if you
Yeah.
land on a helicopter, you've still got
Yeah,
to...
helicopter, you might not have to be that physically fit, but still, if there is no helicopter, you should also plan for the Zodiac. So yes, I still think a combination of Navy SEALs and radio operators.
So going back to this morning's debate, if you'd had 3 rig in a box and put them on the island, would you have been happy with that and operated from the boat?
Yeah, personally I would be happy with that. I don't see any problem with that. I think for the radio in the box concept, I'm not sure if it will work on Bouvet because of the beach. You cannot leave any items on the beach. It will just be taken by the water. Actually, what we saw is that the conditions changed all the time. From day to day, the conditions on the beach changed. Roughly 150 meters of the glacier was taken by the waves and just out in the sea. So there's a lot of forces and power in these waves. If you can get the radio in the box up onto the glacier, then I think that's the concept. You can go onshore and in a good day and put them on a glacier and go back. But the thing is that you need to refuel. So I don't know how that can be solved, but
No. Any other questions?
Hi, it's Tony, G2NF. I'm sure you've seen the movie in the film where the Zodiac goes shooting up the beach, lands on the beach at full speed, and the outboard gets kicked at the back. Did you ever consider that sort of approach for landing stuff on the beach?
That's what we did. We did that. We went in and we pulled out the outboard engine up. So
Okay, did you go straight up the beach onto the pebbles?
we went as far as we could, but the Zodiac or dinghy will hit the beach.
Yes.
And then it will be stuck on the beach until the next wave comes. When the next wave comes, it will fill the dinghy with water.
Oh,
Very
okay.
unlucky. So
I understand.
That's the
Thank
issue
you.
we had, yeah.
Ken, I've heard your comments about Navy SEALs, and I understand that, but ignoring that for a moment, with the team that you had, right, and what would you do differently if you had to do it again? In other words, if you didn't have Navy SEALs or anything like that, is there anything you wish you had done in preparation now that you've had the experience of going there?
Yeah, more physical and mental training. I think all of us needed. We were not prepared, or we didn't know how to do the Zodiac landing. That's for sure. It was suggested by Peter. We hired an expeditioner to assist us, and he told us that you should have prepared more on this. We tried to get the operators to do training, but it's easy to say, but maybe a little bit more difficult to do. And really, we didn't know what we had to do. Now we know that you need to be physical fit for sure.
And I think that's. I think that's one of the things that I reflected on. This is something I've written in the digest. Is one of the great things that Ken and his team have done is a tremendous amount of information, and a lot of it video, of course, as well, of just what it's like. So that's apart from the 18,600 QSOs, it's the legacy for people who follow. And I don't think we should shy away from that, because a lot of the things you found out weren't documented, and certainly weren't videoed in that way. There's still pictures, but videos. And I think that will make it easier for people who follow if they can raise the money and they are physically fit and they want to go. And I think that's the challenge. Okay, thanks, Ken. And the interesting thing to me was I picked Ken up at Heathrow yesterday, and the last time I saw him was when we had the London dinner. And I was thinking, when I was waiting for you to come through, I was thinking, in the time since we last met, I've just had a fairly ordinary life. I've worked some new DX and a few things, and this guy's done all this. It's quite interesting when you come up and that and go, whatever it was, 3 months, just how much you've done and achieved. So, well done.
Thank you.